Welcome back to the deep dive. Just for a second, I want you to pause and just think. Think about the sheer complexity of what your mind has already accomplished today.
Right, just since you woke up this morning.
Exactly. I mean, you've processed language, you've navigated a complex environment, recognized faces,
Planned your day.
and made probably hundreds of tiny probabilistic decisions. All of it. Without you needing to consciously debug a single line of internal code, so to speak.
It is an incredible, complex phenomenon, what we call cognition.
It really is.
And, for anyone who wants to really grasp the current state of the field, it can feel,
Oh,
overwhelming.
for sure. You get lost in the jargon.
You do.
Yeah.
And the historical battles, the sheer volume of research, that's why our source material today is so brilliant. It basically synthesizes decades of work. It gives you the scaffolding you need to understand where we are right now.
Okay, so let's unpack that. Our mission for this deep dive is to give you a genuine shortcut. We're going to identify and explore the top 3 foundational principles, the big ideas that emerge when you look at the mind through this really interconnected lens. And this isn't just theory. This is about equipping you to understand how the mind works according to, well, the consensus of this incredibly diverse scientific community.
Precisely. We're moving beyond just a historical timeline and really focusing on the connective threads. These principles are essential for understanding yourself, how you perceive, how you remember, but they're also the foundation for tackling huge, real-world challenges.
Like what?
Well, everything from developing better education strategies to understanding how misinformation spreads online. So let's just jump in.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So big idea number 1. This really defines the field itself. It's the necessity of interdisciplinary collaboration.
Yeah.
And the sources are so clear that this isn't just, a nice recommendation. It's a methodological necessity. You have to weave together psychology, neuroscience, linguistics, philosophy.
Computer science, anthropology.
All of them.
And what's really fascinating is why it's not optional. The mind is just organized on so many different levels.
From the micro to the macro.
Exactly. From chemical signals all the way up to cultural context. No single discipline could possibly capture the whole picture. If you only use one lens, you miss the entire architecture.
That makes so much sense. So each field is bringing an irreplaceable piece of the puzzle. Like neuroscience reveals the physical hardware, right? The wetware of the neural circuits.
And then computer science offers the formal models, the abstract logic, the algorithms that explain what the processes are actually doing, whether it's in silicon or in our heads.
And that's just 2 of them.
It's just the start. Then you have psychology, which documents the observable behavior, how these processes show up in the real world.
Reaction times, learning rates, errors.
And all of that. And linguistics shows us how we structure meaning. And then, crucially, you have philosophy, which tackles those really deep, persistent questions.
Like consciousness?
Consciousness, knowledge, free will. The things empirical science alone has really struggled to pin down.
It sounds incredibly complicated, like trying to manage 6 different languages at once.
It is complex, but it's really the only way forward. The sources use a great analogy. Understanding the mind is like trying to understand a massive modern city.
Oh, yeah.
If you only talk to the architect, you know where the roads and buildings are, the infrastructure.
But you don't know why there are traffic jams.
Or where the money is flowing. For that, you need the economist.
And you need the sociologist to understand the community networks, how people interact.
And you would absolutely need the historian to understand how the city developed its laws, its traditions.
Right.
Exactly. Each expert studies the same thing, the city, but from a totally different level, with different tools. You have to integrate all of their reports to really get what makes that city tick.
So that multi-layered requirement is big idea number 1. You just cannot simplify the mind into a single discipline.
You can't.
Okay, so if that's the foundation, let's move to big idea number 2. This is about the dramatic shift in the content of the field. This is the evolution from those simple computer models to what's called embodied cognition.
This is one of the biggest theoretical shifts in the field's entire history. The current thinking is that cognitive processes aren't just happening in an abstract brain. They're deeply, deeply integrated with our physical bodies and how we interact with the world.
So thinking isn't separate from sensing and acting.
Not at all. They are actively woven together.
Wow. To get how radical that is, we probably have to go back to the beginning, the early computational model from the 50s and 60s.
The mind as computer metaphor.
Right. And the mind is a digital computer running software. It was all about symbol manipulation, processing rules,
Yeah.
like a Turing machine. It was powerful. But what were its limits?
Well, it was too rigid, and frankly, too slow to explain actual human behavior, especially learning. It struggled with how we learn messy patterns or deal with ambiguous real-world stuff.
It assumed everything had to be an explicit rule.
Exactly. The first big shift away from that was connectionism neural networks, which showed how learning could just emerge from pattern recognition, not from pre-programmed rules.
And then things got even more complex. The sources talk about dynamical systems and Bayesian frameworks. Can you break those down for us?
Sure. Simply put, the Bayesian approach sees your brain as a prediction machine. It's constantly calculating the probability of what's going to happen next and then updating its beliefs based on new sensory data.
So it's not waiting for all the information.
No, it's always guessing ahead. And dynamical systems theory views cognition as something that's always flowing and changing states, more like a weather system than a step-by-step computer program.
Okay, so this is where embodied cognition becomes so radical. If the mind is constantly predicting and dealing with real-world inputs, how can it be separate from the body that's experiencing the world?
You've got it. That's the core challenge. Embodied cognition argues that the way your body is built, its size, its shape, its senses, literally determines the kind of thinking you can do.
So the body isn't just a container for the brain.
The body is part of the cognitive system itself.
Can you give us a really clear contrast? The old view versus the new view.
Absolutely. The old view would say planning to climb a set of stairs is a pure software operation. You calculate the steps, the force needed, all in an abstract module.
Separate from your body.
Completely. The new embodied view shows that when you think about climbing, you are activating the very same motor and sensory systems you'd use to actually climb. Your planning process is inseparable from your physical ability to act. If your hands are full, you plan differently. Your body's state is a direct input to the calculation.
Wow, that changes everything. And it brings us, I think, pretty seamlessly to big idea number 3, which is probably the most counterintuitive of all. This is the principle that your brain is an active constructor, not a passive receiver of reality.
This is such a critical point because it goes against our deepest intuitions. We feel like we just see the world as it is, or that our memory is like a video replay.
But it's not.
Not at all. This finding that the brain actively constructs reality is one of the most consistent in all of cognitive science, and it explains both our amazing adaptability and our systematic errors.
So the brain isn't just waiting for input. It's constantly working ahead of the data, predicting what's coming next.
That's its baseline state prediction. When sensory data comes in, the brain actively interprets it, it fills in the gaps based on past experience, and it makes these informed guesses about what's out there.
So vision isn't just seeing.
Vision is, as some say, a kind of constrained hallucination. We're hallucinating based on predictions until the data proves us wrong.
But wait, if our reality is constantly being constructed, and sometimes it's just filling in gaps, how can we trust our own memories or perceptions? That sounds a little cynical.
It's not cynical, it's pragmatic. The brain prioritizes usefulness and speed over perfect, 100% accuracy. We see this so clearly with memory. Your memory doesn't just replay the past, it dynamically reconstructs events every single time you access them. It integrates new information, new expectations.
Which is why we can remember details so confidently.
That later turned out to be wrong. They were informed interpretations or predictions, not a simple file retrieval.
That has massive real-world implications. Eyewitness testimony, misinformation.
Absolutely. And think about social cognition. We have these specialized systems for navigating our incredibly complex social worlds, but they rely entirely on this active construction.
How so?
The second you meet someone new, you are instantly inferring their mental states, predicting their intentions, gauging their status.
All based on what?
All through active prediction and interpretation based on a lifetime of prior social knowledge. You are building a mental model of that person on the fly.
Can we use a simpler example, something immediate?
Sure, think about reading. If I cover the bottom half of a line of text, you can still read it pretty fluently.
Right.
Your brain doesn't stop and wait for the full picture. It uses context, grammar, and learned patterns to instantly predict what the rest of the words must be. It fills in the missing data. That is perception. Your brain is a hypothesis-generating machine.
Okay, there was a huge dive into the 3 big frameworks. The interdisciplinary team, the shift to the embodied mind, and the brain as an active constructor. That's the theory. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? How do we turn these frameworks into a toolkit?
This is the application part. We've got 4 actionable bullet points that summarize the essential takeaways for your own life and learning.
Okay, give us the first one, connecting back to the brain as a hypothesis machine.
Number 1, individual awareness. Because we know the brain is an active constructor, you have to use your knowledge of cognitive biases, those mental shortcuts, to recognize when your automatic thinking might be leading you astray.
So understand that your perception is just a prediction.
Exactly. It heightens your awareness when you're evaluating new information.
And based on big idea 1, the need for integration, what's the key takeaway there?
That would be number 2, breadth of understanding. You have to resist the temptation to view a complex problem through a single lens. Remember the city analogy. The richest understanding always comes from integrating multiple frameworks. So if you're tackling a problem with human behavior, you need the psychological, the neurological, and the computational views. You just have to read widely.
Which leads right into how we should evaluate the science itself.
Number 3, critical analysis. This field is always evolving, so a healthy skepticism is crucial. You have to evaluate claims by scrutinizing the methodology, checking if results have been replicated, and really asking if the theories explain what they claim to explain.
Just because a study shows a neural correlate doesn't mean it explains the cognition.
Precisely.
And finally, the most introspective point, how we manage these complex systems in our own heads.
Number 4, self-regulation. This is about regularly engaging in metacognitive reflection. It's just a fancy way of saying thinking about your own thinking.
So analyzing your own cognitive processes.
Yes, how you study, how you remember, how you make judgments. You monitor those processes to improve your learning strategies. When you catch your brain making an error or jumping to a conclusion, that moment of reflection is your chance to override the shortcut.
That toolkit is a beautiful way to connect these really high-level ideas back to practical outcomes. And we see these frameworks applied everywhere, right?
Oh, everywhere. In education, designing better learning systems. In computational psychiatry, using cognitive models to treat mental health challenges. Human-computer interaction, building intuitive interfaces that work with the brain's predictive models.
Yeah.
But the sources are also clear that while we've learned a staggering amount, the adventure is far from over. The core mystery that started it all is still there.
So what's that final provocative thought you want to leave everyone with?
Yeah.
The big challenge that's still on the table.
It's the relationship between physical brain activity and conscious experience. It's often called the explanatory gap.
Meaning what exactly?
We can find the neural correlates, the brain patterns that fire when you see the color red or feel joy. We can map them, but we still have no real idea how electrical and chemical signals transform into the subjective, felt quality of consciousness itself.
The jump from objective matter to subjective experience.
It's still mostly a mystery.
The mind remains partially mysterious, dynamic, and it's actively constructing the world around you. And that is what makes this field so exciting. Hopefully, you now feel equipped to maintain your own empirical curiosity and recognize that you are now armed with the foundational knowledge to follow this incredible, ongoing investigation. Thanks for diving in with us.